As always, thanks for joining us. The program is Agriculture in Focus, where advancing food security and agribusiness remains our mainstay. A happy new year to you. My name is Alpha Jagden. On today's episode of the program, we will be looking at two very important aspects of our agricultural life. We will be looking at the Food Rights Act and also food security. That will form the basis of our interview and our Vox Pop segments. After the interview segments, as usual, I'll hand you over to Abigail Stowe for some news that you can use. That will be followed by Common Sense Agriculture. The show will come to a close with Trending Fields. All you need to do is call everyone, sit in, because I assure you the next 25 minutes will be worth your while.
I've not heard about the Food Rights Act. To me, the first thing the government should do is to tackle the issue of insecurity. Without doing that, food security will be in right this year. Farmers in Middle Belt, in Northeast, in all the food basins of Nigeria, they can't access their farms any longer because of bandits.
The Food Rights Act, no. Now, for you to have food sufficiency, food security, government must be committed. In fact, the state government must be deliberate about ensuring food security. It starts from the state, the local government, down to the grassroots to understand that you must have food security. Now, number one, you must have security. If farmers are not secure, they cannot produce. Then you must have inputs, farm inputs. Farming has been politicized. There's no sincerity about agriculture in the country. Politicians just come and talk about agriculture, but there's no sincerity about agriculture, about food security. Until we begin to deliberately invest in agriculture, the problem will continue. Invest in agriculture, provide land for farmers, provide incentives for farmers, inputs for farmers, and then we'll be able to achieve food security.
And it's always a delight to have you join us on the interview segment of Agriculture in Focus. Today, we will be looking at the Right to Food Act. Have you heard about that before? We'll get to find out what the Right to Food Act is all about, because we have the man whose brainchild it is. He is no other person than Professor Gbolagade Ayoola, who happens to be a professor of agricultural economics and policy. Prof, thank you so much for joining us on today's...
Thank you. My pleasure. You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Sir, before we begin, we spoke to Nigerians about the Right to Food Act, and I can assure you a lot of Nigerians don't or have never even heard about it. How do you feel?
Very bad.
Oh.
That a law that we spent 15 years to pursue, and which we spent our youthful energy, expend finances and time to bring about. And it has been brought about since March 2023, finally.
Interesting.
But since March 2023 and now, a good part of a year maybe, it's unfortunate to hear this, that the people of Nigeria, for whom we mean the good to deliver unto them, have still not known about this bill.
Well, the opportunity for them to know about this bill is now here. Prof, share your thoughts with us. Where did it all start from?
Thank you very much. I am, as you have said, a professor of agricultural economics and policy of the University of Agriculture, Makurdi, where I retired in 2009, having been a pioneer member of the academic staff. My special area of focus and expertise is agricultural policy in terms of constant analysis of the issues in the policy process for agricultural development and for food security in particular. And also in terms of getting the ball rolling in giving advice, policy advice to government over time. We graduated to the regime of policy advisory, whereby we stepped out a bit from the university to help government to advise them physically, leading several missions in governance of agriculture sector, in fertilizer, in seed, and so on and so forth. Yet our advice had fallen on the wayside, or to put it bluntly, deaf ears over time.
Why do you think that's the case?
Well, government being what it is a group of people in a hurry to achieve certain things. And doing that does not happen often in the agriculture sector. So to follow the trend I was pursuing, having noticed that even the pieces of advice which we have rendered, worldwide, nationally, state level, local level, were falling on deaf ears, we then noticed that we needed to do more, advocate it. All these good practices in agricultural policy process that will bring food security to this country. The policy economist does not only need to sit in his cocoon and begin to dish advice and begin to make recommendations, but he should also go further to move close to the doorsteps of the policy authorities in such a way that they will hear him more and see him more and therefore take him more seriously. And that's what brought about the thoughts about how can we achieve this. We observed quickly that it was not easy to do so in the confines of a government institution like a university, because the policy advocates will always run into crisis with government on one occasion or another. Therefore, we had the initiative for founding the Farm and Infrastructure Foundation, the organization where we are sitting in here today. We founded it way back in 1999 in order to achieve effective policy influencing and pursuing policy best practices in food security, and also to get the ear of government towards successful implementation of policies. The issue is how much success have we achieved? One policy comes after the other, and successively they were failing to achieve the goal of food security and nutrition security.
But the current administration have seen the need to even declare a state of emergency as far as food security.
That is true. That is fine. But I am leading somewhere in order to give proper background to the law we are talking about. So the series of programs and projects in agriculture had failed successively. And that is why in Nigeria, a popular statement today is to say, oh, Nigeria is not bereft of policies. What they lack is good implementation of policies, meaning that policies fail at implementation level. And we have to step out as policy advocates to support the implementation process even the more. And that was why we started to think of how best to achieve this.
All right,
now,
Prof, I'll just ask you hold there. We'll take a short break and you'll continue with your thoughts.
Okay.
The program is Agriculture in Focus.
The world is talking about regenerative agriculture.
Activity alone can be a great source of revenue.
Thanks for being there. The program is Agriculture in Focus, and we're looking at the Food Rights Act. There is an act like that, just if you don't know about same. So, Prof, you go on.
The reasons we found to have been responsible for successive failure of policies is embedded in the food as a human need concept. Food is seen as a mere human need. And what does that mean? It means that government is only helping the people to provide their need. by putting all these policies in place. It is not by right of the people.
Or it is not the right of the
It's not the right of the people. That's the concept. That's where the concept fails from time immemorial. We are now trying to change the narrative, to move our notion from the traditional notion of food as a human need to the contemporary notion of food as a human right. By the way, food as a human right has its origin in many, many years ago, within the framework of the United States, the United Nations. They build all the organogram of food governance on right, just like other forms of right. So food as a human right, we see as a better solution to policy failures at implementation stage. Because if we see it as a human right, both the people and government will take it more seriously. And if government or any branch of public policy authority violates or abuses or contravenes people's rights, people have the right to challenge them.
But seriously, Prof, why do you think such an important act went through several, I mean, what do you call it now?
We face several frustrations. Part of the reason why it took so long, we made the mistake of starting with government, trying to advocate for them to take this bill as an executive bill to the National Assembly on their own. And for about 2 years after launching our national campaign on right to food, that was what we were pursuing.
Was it the Obasanjo administration?
It started in the Obasanjo administration.
Because he is a farmer, so I would have thought...
No, he did not favor it initially. Okay. It was later when he saw more clearly the way we were going about it. He even offered to be our grand patron. And that is why one of the photographs you will see in our system is Obasanjo himself carrying the banner to say, I support the right to food. Our right to food process is about how to make government more accountable and more responsible in the pursuit of food security. Where it fails to be accountable and responsible, we want to empower the people with the act to be able to shake government when necessary. Take them to court if necessary to say, here, by not allocating sufficient money, for example, to this particular project, government is offending our right to food. And it can be meaningful.
You know, Prof, as we prepare to round up, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security the other day came out to say government will soon announce its work plan towards mechanization as far as agriculture is concerned. Do you have any advice for government in that area?
Okay. Before we get there, I'm sorry. Let us go back to what you said earlier, that government has declared a state of emergency on food. That is a step in a very right direction. It made us very happy. Personally, I was jubilant. One, government did that, the new government did that, just about 3 months after the Right to Food Act was passed into law. So we had thought that we had laid the foundation for fighting that war, because state of emergency is fighting a war. It's a war on hunger. So Right to Food Act, the Right to Food Act, the code, the bullet for fighting that war is in the Right to Food Act, Act number 34 of 2023. Unfortunately, today, government has not even acknowledged the presence of that act. And that is why people have not known about it. Immediately it was passed, we did solid, sustained advocacy and disciplined hard work in order to pursue the law in the National Assembly as a private member's bill, our own initiative, and we faced several frustrations from one assembly to the other. We started in the 6th Assembly, proceeded to 7th Assembly, 8th Assembly. Last year was 9th Assembly when it was finally signed into law. But government is just looking on. Till today, they have not had a statement, in recognition or in acknowledgement of that law. That is the reference I want to make. It is necessary for government to activate this law so that it can prosecute the war on hunger very well through the state of emergency. That is that. But talking mechanization, it is in the context of the Right to Food Act that we are expecting mechanization to work better, because government now has sued to be responsible, to be more accountable, and where they fail to meet the need of the people will ask questions. And that is the basis for the bill to exist.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
I'll now hand you over to Abigail Stowe for some news that you can use.
Thank you and welcome to the new segment of Agriculture in Focus. I am Abigail Stowe. The federal government has approved the commercial release and open cultivation of 4 genetically modified teller maize varieties to address challenges of stem borers and fall armyworm. These drought-tolerant varieties were developed through a public-private partnership with research institutions coordinated by the African Agricultural Technology Foundation. To drive value addition and boost the country's foreign exchange through agriculture, the Lagos state government has unveiled plans to become a central hub for cocoa processing and trade through establishment of 3 cocoa processing hubs. This was disclosed at the 2024 International Cocoa and Chocolate Forum Conference in Lagos. In a related development, a non-governmental organization in Benue State, Alia Palm Project, has unveiled the Tenera Oil Palm Project with an ambition of transforming Benue State into an oil palm industrial hub within the next few years. And now to the global scene. In Ghana, the price of maize, the main commodity for poultry feed, has dropped, an indication that the sector will recover significantly in 2024. The president of the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers, Mr. Victor Opong, has said. The newly elected president of the African Organic Network, Mr. Cheratin Namuwoza, has pledged to prioritize advocacy for organic agriculture in all African states where the network is present, to save the local farmers whom he said are suffering more. This has been the news on the news segment of Agriculture in Focus. Thank you for staying with us. There's lots more coming your way, and I am Abigail Stowe.
Abigail Stowe, thank you as always for that news segment. I will now hand you over to Timmy Simpson for Common Sense Agriculture.
Welcome to Common Sense Agriculture, our low-hanging insights into farming and agribusiness. My name is Timmy Simpson. Farming has 3 major stakeholders: the farmers, the consumers, and the environment. Our food and agricultural system is rife with contradictions, and we simply need to deal with them. We use some of our best lands to grow maize and soybeans, and then feed 3/4 of that to animals. We cut our rainforest to grow cocoa and palm trees, a large portion of which goes to foreign lands to produce chocolate, beverages, and ingredients. Ironically, we grow all this food with so much energy and pollution, and yet waste an entire 1/3 of it. We should focus on common sense farming. Most of us are not farmers and probably cannot imagine what common sense farming means. But think about it this way: how you maintain your own house plants. You water them regularly. Every once in a while, you add some nutrients. When you see some pest infestations, you try to manage it by applying some pesticides that are not harmful to health. You use your common sense to deal with the issue. The common sense here, therefore, is deal with the contradictions in our food and agricultural systems with common sense farming. Until we come your way again, be guided by these low-hanging insights into farming and agribusiness from Agriculture in Focus. My name is Timmy Simpson.
Timmy Simpson, as always, thank you so much for Common Sense Agriculture. It's about time I hand you over to Balogun Anthony for Trending Fields.
You're welcome to Trending Fields here on Agriculture in Focus. Now, in this segment, we will be highlighting agricultural topics trending all across the internet. My name is Balogun Anthony, and thank you for joining us. Now for our first trend for today, Mark Zuckerberg, the tech titan behind Facebook, begins a more down-to-earth adventure as he's gone full farmer. The 39-year-old billionaire has invested a chunk of his $126.5 billion fortune into a 1,400-acre ranch in Hawaii, turning it into a high-tech haven for Wagyu and Angus cattle. Zuckerberg spilled the beans on Instagram because where else? Revealing his grand plan to create the world's finest beef. Now, the cows, he says, will be living a good life, feasting on macadamia meals and sipping beer grown right on the ranch. Talk about a unique diet. But this isn't just about tasty steaks. It's a full-on eco-experiment, and Zuckerberg's daughters are even getting their hands dirty, planting macadamia trees and taking care of the animals. Zuckerberg is taking the farm-to-table concept to a whole new level. Now for our next trend for today, scientists at the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory in the United States of America have just unveiled a stellar breakthrough genetically modified cherry tomatoes that could be the key to growing crops in the cosmos. Now using the wizardry of CRISPR, the scientists at Cold Spring Harbor play genetic matchmaker with cherry tomatoes, tweaking 3 crucial genes. Now imagine astronauts cultivating fresh vegetables during their interstellar adventures. Now, these compact tomatoes are tailor-made for controlled environments like indoor farms, urban rooftops, and yes, spaceships. Now, the possibilities are as vast as the cosmos. Now, by growing these genetically modified wonders, we are not just exploring space possibilities, we are tackling pollution and farming challenges. Now, as Zach Lipman, the green thumb genius behind the project, puts it, this demonstrates how we can produce crops in new ways without tearing up the land or drowning it in excessive fertilizer. It's the future of farming right at your fingertips. Now for our last trend for today, Kebbi State has cramped up the farming game by snagging 6,000 solar pumps and power tillers for a dry season farming extravaganza. Governor Nasiri Idris, the maestro behind this agricultural symphony, even invited the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, to be the VIP at the launch of Kaura Agricultural Development and Growth Agenda. Now, why is this important? Year-round farming isn't just a farming fad, it's a game changer. More crops, more jobs, less poverty, cheaper groceries, and a sprinkle of inclusivity. It's not just a farming revolution, it's an agricultural fiesta, and Kebbi State is leading the dance. Now that's all for today here on Trending Fields on Agriculture in Focus. If you would like to be part of the show, you can send us your comments, your suggestions, and your feedback. Our handle is @patagro_media on all the social media platforms. My name is Balogun Anthony, and do have a great night.
Balogun Anthony, thank you so much for Trending Fields. And this is where we'll be drawing the curtain on today's episode of the program. It's been Agriculture in Focus, where advancing food security and agribusiness remains our mainstay. Do join us same time, same station next week for yet another interesting episode of the program. Happy New Year. This program is open to sponsorship. My name is Alpha Jackden.